Good evening. It's now about 8 minutes past 6. In the regular session of the Planning Commission of the City of Lancaster, please come to order. Tonight, our invocation will be offered by Vice Chairman Hall. The pledge will be led by Commissioner Coronado. So if you'd please stand.
Bow your heads while we offer up our thanks to God. We give thanks for our staff who prepare such a large agenda for the commission to go over. We thank the commission for being able to digest it and read it, the audience for coming out on such an inclement night, and mostly I'd like to ask for your blessings on the city of Paris and the people that were harmed, the family and friends. Comfort them as much as you can, and finally look after the family and friends of Larry Chimboli. And I pray in your name, amen.
Amen.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. May I have the roll call, please?
Commissioners Diana Cook,
Present.
Miguel Coronado,
Present.
Cassandra Harvey,
Present.
Fabian Teresiano,
Here.
Vice Chair Randy Hall,
Here.
Chairman James Bowes.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. For the record, this evening, the reason we were delayed, we received some modifications to our agenda, typographical changes, and some modifications to various agenda items. The first item is agenda item 2A. There's a modification there to the condition list. 2B to the condition list. 3B to the condition list. 3C to the condition list. 3D to the condition list. 3E to the condition list. Conditional use permit 15-11. The staff report was amended and the resolution 15-33 was amended. Item 6, conditional use permit 15-13, and the staff report was amended and the resolution 15-35 was amended. And item 7, conditional use permit 15-14, the condition number 4 was amended. Those of you in the audience that are subject, have these matters as applicants, I hope you all verify you've received these items. Staff assures us that you have, so when we get to that item, I may call upon you and ask if you in fact agree to those conditions. Just a point of information, this commission meets twice a month. Generally, we meet before this meeting, a week before, with staff. We do not, it's a public meeting. However, we do not deliberate. We gain information from staff, ask questions, but we do not engage in deliberation, nor do we vote. This gives the members an opportunity to understand clearly the matters that would come before us a week later. So if it would appear to some of you that we may be glossing over an item or not talking about it much, it may well be because we've received all the information that we required at our staff briefing. So we don't want to waste our time nor yours. We have public has an opportunity to speak to us. Certainly the applicant or their representatives certainly have an opportunity to speak to us, and then any other public member either for or against the project can speak to us as well. Those public members would be allowed 3 minutes. The applicant typically is allowed as much time as necessary to present their project. Occasionally we have uncontested public hearings, so we may or may not waive the public information on the staff report, which is written for anyone to see, and there's a copy of the agenda in the binder at the rear of the chamber. Our first item of business is approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of October 19th, 2015. We have a motion, please?
I move that we accept the minutes of October 19th meeting of the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
Second that motion.
Thank you. Further questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. The next two items are continued public hearings. Public hearings were opened at previous meetings, and they continue to be open. First item is 2A, tentative tract map number 60367. And for the record, we've received an uncontested letter on both of these. And any of the members care to hear a staff report on this? No? Have anything to add to this recommendation tonight? No? All right. Do you have any speaker cards?
Only from the applicant's representative, who has said he is available to answer questions if necessary.
All right. So if the applicant's representative has a really compelling reason to speak to us, we'll be happy to hear you. Doesn't look like it. All right, then. No one else? So without objection, then we'll close the public hearing and consider a motion on tract 60367.
I move that we grant a one-year extension to September 18th, 2016, based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the revised conditions list, attachment to resolution number 06-66.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Next item is also continued public hearing on tentative tract map 61480. For the record, we've received an uncontested letter on this one as well. Do we have speakers? The applicant?
Applicant only, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Anyone else care to address us on this here tonight? No one? All right. Anyone care to hear a staff report? Members? All right, then. It's appropriate to close the public hearing without objection. Consider a motion on tract map 61480.
I'll make a motion that we grant a one-year extension to October 17th, 2016, based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the revised condition list, attachment to resolution number 05-65.
Thank you. Have a second, please?
I second.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Next several items are new public hearings. So without objection, the public hearing is open on item 3A, which is a one-year extension for tentative tract map number 61535. We do not, well, we have no communication on this other than the staff report, and the recommendation is to continue the matter until our next meeting. Do you have any speakers on this, Mr. Ludicky?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Anything to add to the staff report?
No.
No. All right. Thank you. So then, without objection, we'll close the public hearing and consider a motion to continue this matter.
I move that we continue to the public hearing to the December 14, 2015 Planning Commission meeting.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Next item is item 3B, which is tentative tract map number 61681. So without objection, the public hearing is open on this. For the record, we have an uncontested letter from the applicant. Do we have speakers?
Only the applicant, Mr. Chairman.
All right. So does the applicant have a overwhelming desire to speak to us tonight? I don't see anyone charging up to the podium. All right. Questions from members? Anything to add from staff? No. All right, then. Be appropriate to close the public hearing without objection. Consider a motion on 61681.
I'll make the motion that we grant a one-year extension to the November 21st, 2016 date, based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the revised condition list, attachment to resolution number 05-77.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Questions or comments? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. The next public hearing is on 3C, tentative tract map 62578. So without objection, the public hearing is open on this matter. We have a contested letter from the applicant, or I don't know if we have a letter, but it's noted here on my agenda that the item is contested. At any rate, so do we have speakers on this?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, in addition to the applicant's representative, we have another speaker's card.
All right, very good. So may we have a staff report, please?
Good evening, Chairman Bose, Commissioners. This is a request for a time extension for TTM 62578. This project is located on 20 acres on the west side of 40th Street West at Avenue J12. It is a subdivision for 83 single-family lots. This map was originally approved on November 21st, 2005. Since that time, state extensions have carried the expiration date to November 21st, 2015. In drafting the revised conditions, staff recommended some design changes to improve the connectivity in the area, and the conditions and revised conditions reflect these design changes. The applicant has provided a letter stating that they agree with all of the conditions, with exception to condition number 5. Condition number 5 asks that the applicant extend Canterbury Street, which is the first street west of 40th Street West, 330 feet north from the project site, to connect with the existing Canterbury Street to the north. If we can switch to an aerial photo. So there's a condition that asks for a temporary 30-foot connection from the existing neighborhood to the north, connecting to the project site of 62578. Staff recommends this condition to provide for additional connections for the surrounding area. And there's also improvements to just overall circulation, and not just that, but improvements for the area as far as drainage is concerned. Based on the conditions, staff recommends that the commission provide an extension to this map. And this concludes staff's report.
Thank you. So the original map was modified to remove the cul-de-sacs for connectivity and better flow of traffic through the proposed subdivision. That'd be a fair way to express it.
Right. We've included the original approved map and the revised layout as provided by the applicant. This is the original approved map with the 3 cul-de-sac streets. And the revision provides for extensions through each of these streets to the south, but also for the extension of Canterbury Street to the north.
Very good. Anyone have questions of staff?
How many more lots will they get out of it?
I believe the revised map there shows 86 versus the original request was 83.
So they gained 3 lots to develop,
The new design yielded 3 additional lots.
and they didn't contest that?
No.
Anyone have any further questions or comments? All right, may we hear from the applicant, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Haggai Rappaport? Close.
Is it Mr. Rappaport?
Hello,
Good evening.
good evening. Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Haggai Rappaport. I'm the major shareholder of Blank Blue LLC and the manager. This is a tentative that was approved in 2005, 10 years ago, and all the conditions were accepted by us, and a revision that was sent to us 3 weeks ago was also accepted by us. Last week, we got this new condition that we have to extend Canterbury Street through the northern property to connect to the other side. And that condition is undue hardship on us because we're going to have to get an easement from our neighbor. And having some experience with that neighbor in the past, I think it's going to be very difficult to obtain that easement. And we don't see any reason to connect that street in his property 100% between the 2 tracks. We have access from 40th Street, we have access from 42nd Street. So I think we have enough access, and we don't see the reason for this, and we think it's unreasonable and not going to be very difficult for us to obtain, which might kill our whole project. We actually want to move forward and do final engineering and start building on it next year. We're building right now on J8 and inside the track 60428. So we want to continue. This is our next track to build on. So we're just asking for that last condition to be removed if possible.
So a 10-year-old map with new conditions and a new general plan and a new design standard, you don't agree with?
Well, I agree with everything. I mean, the cul-de-sac is not something we requested. The city requested that we turn it into straight streets, so we're okay with that. We're gaining some lots. But just to build Canterbury through somebody else's property to connect is...
It's not an
the
unusual,
easement is more
that's not an unusual condition we place on projects and have for some months now, particularly on tracks that are 10 or 12 years old. The community standards have changed. Circulation patterns have changed. The world has changed.
I understand. The world has changed.
And you're gaining 3 lots, so what would you have us do? Revert back to the old map?
I'll go back to the old map. The lots don't do. This condition is not so much the expense of the money. I'm worried about getting the easements from the neighbor, which can stall us for a long time.
Very familiar with those issues.
I'm very familiar with those issues.
So am I. But design and circulation and properly designed projects are our responsibility, requiring access, circulation, easements, streets, sewer, water. Those issues we typically impose. You have anything more to add?
No, I'm not opposing to anything. Again, I'm just that one street through somebody else's property, I think, is undoable.
All right, there may be more questions. Commissioner Hardy.
So I'm just a little bit confused on your contestant letter dated November 12th. You're saying that it's a multifaceted hardship for the development of the project, one of which being that it is a financial burden. So it is not, it's only working with that neighbor?
It's financial and working with the neighbor. It's both. Since I'm gaining lots, that can offset the financial, but it's mostly the easement issue.
Thank you.
Have you had the opportunity to sit down with staff and discuss the situation with them?
No, because we just got that condition last Thursday. I mean, if it's possible, we can ask for an extension and work with staff on it in the next couple of weeks and see if we can resolve this.
Anything further from the members?
I think the question here, or the point, is that it has to conform with the general plan. And since this was an old map, we're bringing everything up to date. So it has to be fair and equitable for everyone. So I think that's the real point.
Why is it fair and equitable for me to build a road into somebody else's property?
It's to meet the general plan.
Yeah, but isn't it would be a condition of his map? And if I were him, and you want to put a street through my property, that means you're restricting him from designing it to the way you see it in the future. So that means you're putting a street in the middle. Well, not in the middle,
Well, we
but
can
in his
only
property.
talk about being compliant now, right now in the present. Have you talked to the neighbor?
No, not in a long time.
I would suggest maybe you do.
I've talked to him a long time ago. It was not an easy experience, and it's not a neighbor that has understanding of development. It's not a neighbor that understands easement, and it's going to be extremely difficult for me to make him to sign anything.
I understand.
The difficult we do immediately, the impossible takes a day or two longer sometimes. So, if I understood your response to Commissioner Terracciano, you may like to have another few weeks to chat with staff about this revision. But clearly you understand that staff's recommendation to us is to conform with the general plan.
Yeah, but what I'm not clear about is why do the general, I understand general plan within my track map. Why does the general plan have to do with building a street on somebody else's property?
Not an unusual condition.
10 years ago, my company improved all 40th Street, and we built a drainage facility on 40th Street as a condition of all the maps we had there. But to build on somebody else's property as a general plan doesn't. Maybe it's reasonable, but not in my eyes. I'm sorry.
Certainly, I understand. So let me ask staff, Mr. Ludicky and Mr. Ing, where do we stand on a 30-day continuance, or would be an extension in this case?
No, the map expiration date, I believe, is November 21st. So he, by virtue of having requested an extension, has an automatic 60 days. I would say from staff standpoint, I can't see us modifying what we've recommended to you. However, if he wants 30 days to talk to a neighbor or understand what the city's eminent domain process would be in conjunction with the final map process, we'd be more than happy to talk to him. I would also remind you, Mr. Chairman, you do have one more speaker.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Do you have anything more to add, sir?
No.
All right. Do we have another speaker then?
No, I don't think so.
You do?
You want to
Ah, all right. Very good. Thank you. You'll have an opportunity to rebut if you care to.
Okay, thank you.
Who's the next speaker, please?
Jim Quellman.
Is it Croman?
Wellman.
Quellman. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
And I'm not the neighbor to the north there, so I'm not the person that he needs to be talking to. My name's Jim Quellman, and my address is 43648 Colony Drive. And my house is just south of this particular track, and I believe you had a public hearing on the track just south of that previously. My reason for coming here is I'm not for or against this particular development. In fact, when the winds blow like they do tonight, I'd kind of like that development because it'll keep all the tumbleweeds out of my yard. I live just on the other side of 40th Street West at the end of where J15 connects to 40th Street West. And the reason why I came to the Planning Commission tonight was I'm concerned about the traffic pattern planned along 40th Street West and what the final plans are there for the traffic pattern. I know in a previous development proposal along there was going to be medians placed in 40th Street West that would block entrance into where I live, into the neighborhood along J15. When you're coming down on 40th Street West, I turn left in on J15 to go to my house, and like I say, in previous proposals, that ability to turn left onto J15 was going to be blocked. And also coming out of J15, turning left on 40th Street West to go down towards Avenue K, again, the median was going to be there to block the ability to turn in and out of there. So my interest in coming to the commission tonight was to find out if that part of the proposal and plan is still in place, or if there's been any modifications to what the street design is there for medians in 40th Street West, or if that's a future public hearing as to where I might be able to bring that up to the commission to see if there's any changes or plans or abilities to make adjustments on that. And that's what I wanted to ask about tonight, and thank you for your time.
All right. I'll ask the city engineer to respond to your question regarding raised median if she knows what the condition is on the adjacent properties. However, you may also want to comment on our typical development standards in major thoroughfares for medians. Thank you.
So this particular track 62578, would not be constructing the developer would not be conditioned to construct a median that would block access to Avenue J15, since they would just be bringing the median, I believe, to the entrance off of J12, and there would be an opening for left turn access at that point. I can't speak to any future developments without knowing. There was a tract, as he mentioned, that you reviewed that was just south of this tract, and that tract the extension was denied, so essentially there is not a tentative map at that location at this time. And we would be reviewing any future conditions of medians based on whatever proposals might come forward to us at that time. Just looking at the location, I don't see a reason why we could not allow left turn access in, but again, without having a development in front of us to review, I don't want to say for certain that would be the case.
All right, thank you. And typically, neighbors are notified, as you were most likely either via mail or public notice in the newspaper, of potential development and hearings. So if, as she points out, if there is a proposed track that would affect traffic movement on 40th, you will certainly see a sign posted on the property, and most likely we would get a postcard, and it would be published in the newspaper. All right, then. Mr. Rappaport has an opportunity to rebut. I'm not sure what you need to rebut on that last speaker, but all right, very good. Okay. So do we have any members have any other questions of staff? Anything to add? Mr. Ludicky, Mr. Ing?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I might just make mention that the track as proposed on A Street would require the developer to actually have to get right-of-way from the property to the north because of the half-width street improvements that they would be required to construct on that northernly property. So I just wanted to make you aware that even if Canterbury Street didn't go through, that there would still be a need for him to get right away from the property to the north.
For which street?
For A Street, which is the street that runs in an east-west direction there at the north.
Oh, I see, yes. Off of lots, proposed lots 8 and 9?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, thank you. All right. Anything further? All right, then. No other speakers?
No other speakers, Mr.
All
Chairman.
right, then. So without objection, we'll close the public hearing and consider a motion on 62578.
I'm sorry, not to regress. So
Go ahead.
what will this 1 year, what does this do for us, granting him a 1-year extension until next year at this point? Same
What-
problem, rears its
What
head.
does it do?
I mean, I get it. It moves it out a year, but he'll come back and it's that same, unless we're giving him that amount of time it's going to take to talk to that neighbor. Is that,
Well, in reality, what you're doing is extending the map so they can get to final and build it, and imposing, as we do, all the typical conditions.
now I understand normally what that would do, but I'm saying the situation that he's faced with today, is it November 21st, we're having the same discussion that he still has to talk to the neighbor, that sort of thing?
Yeah, let me see if I can kind of untangle the question a little bit so I understand. He had asked for the potential for 30 days of continuance, which I think was to either discuss with us and or potentially the neighbor to kind of understand what the situation would be. From staff's perspective, we're unlikely to modify the recommended condition. We think it's sound for any number of reasons. And I don't know whether talking to the neighbor makes much difference to him or not. As the city engineer indicated, however, once he enters a final map process, if he is in fact going to carry out the work necessary to file and ultimately get approval and recordation of a final map, he's going to have to obtain right-of-way from that neighbor anyway for the street. In either map design, he was going to need to go get that. And quite frankly, if the adjoining property owner will not give that property over and he cannot reach a negotiation with them, his process would be to come back to the city and say, I can't meet the condition, and the city would consider the implementation of an eminent domain process to obtain the property necessary for the required improvement. Obviously, as the applicant, he pays for that process, he pays for whatever the fair market value of the property is, but that would be the route that it would go in that kind of a setting.
Thank you for the clarification.
Anything further from the members?
So are we going to talk about extending it for, till next meeting, or?
I think it depends on what the motion is. Seemed pretty clear to me that if the applicant is unable to acquire right-of-way, the eminent domain process is available to them, just like it is with any other conditioned process for public right-of-way. So,
Well, I'd like to offer up a motion to grant a one-year extension to November 21st, 2016, based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the revised conditions list, attachment to resolution number 05-78.
thank you. Do I have a second?
Second?
Thank
I'm
you.
over here voting.
All right, anything further from members? Please vote.
Motion passes 5-1.
All right, thank you. The next public hearing is item 3D, which is tentative tract map number 62664, which is another one-year extension. So without objection, the public hearing is open on this item. We have, I should say. We have received an uncontested letter from the applicant agreeing with all the conditions as recommended by staff. Do we have any speakers on this item?
Only the applicant's representative, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. The applicant's representative wish to address us tonight? All right, thank you. No other speakers?
No. Mr.
Staff
Chairman.
have anything to add to the recommendation?
No.
All right, thank you. Then we'll close the public hearing without objection. Consider a motion on 62664.
I move that we grant a one-year extension to November 21st, 2016, based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the revised conditions list attachment to resolution number 05-80.
Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you. So the pump station went away?
Yes, it did. We reviewed the plans that were previously submitted, and after discussions with maintenance and our utilities division, it was determined that that condition could be removed with the addition of the construction of the storm drain in M4.
Thank you. Anything further from the members? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Next item is item 3E, which is tentative tract map 72266. So without objection, the public hearing is open on this. So this was a previous public hearing. We granted a 2-month extension, so we have to have it's not a continued public hearing, it's a new public hearing. Right?
It is a new public hearing, was duly noticed as such.
Some of us operate in a state of confusion. I live there most of the time. Okay, so the public hearing's open, and we have an uncontested letter? No, yes. Yes, we do. All right. The time that the applicant and staff spent was productive then. All right, do we have any speakers?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right then. No one wishing to address us tonight? No? All right then. It's appropriate to close the public hearing without objection. Consider a motion on 72266.
I move to grant a one-year extension to August 19, 2016, based on the findings contained in the staff report and subject to the revised condition list. Attachment to resolution number 13-13.
Thank you.
I second.
Thank you. Anything further from the members? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. Next public hearing is conditional use permit 15-11. This is a conditional use permit for a type 21 off-sale general for beer, wine, and distilled spirits in an existing facility, mini mart. So we have, what do we have? We have no uncontested letter. The recommendation is for denial. We have speakers on this.
Applicant's representative, Mr. Chairman.
All right, could we have a staff report, please?
Good evening, Chair Vos and Commissioners. I have before you tonight conditional use permit number 15-11. This is a request for a Type 21 alcoholic beverage control license for the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits at an existing mini mart with gasoline sales, car wash, and quick lube. The proposed business is considered a mini mart, which is considered a primary off-sale alcoholic beverage establishment. Liquor stores and mini markets are considered primary off-sale alcohol beverage establishments. According to Section 17.42.020, the proposed use is not considered a convenience market due to the sale of gasoline. The applicant feels that the addition of alcohol sales to the site will provide convenience to the surrounding residents within walking distance or short driving distance, and has requested a waiver from the distance requirements. In addition, the applicant has stated that the sale of alcohol will help the business meet its financial obligations and expenses. Staff is recommending denial of the proposed alcohol sales because that property does not meet the requirements of Chapter 42 regarding alcoholic beverage establishments and may adversely affect nearby residences and/or businesses in the area for the following reasons. The proposed project does not meet the distance requirement from sensitive uses. The location is bounded by existing residential uses within 300 feet of the western and southern property lines. The applicant has not adequately justified the findings under Section 17.42.040C for granting a waiver from the distance requirement to the existing residences. The proposed use does not meet the factors regarding public convenience or necessity. Staff's opinion is that the benefits provided to the community from a convenience standpoint do not outweigh potential negative factors. The Sheriff's Department has indicated a concern for public safety associated with the proposed use. According to their data, there have been a total of 440 crimes committed within a 1/2 mile radius of the project site in a 1-year period from October 15, 2014 through October 15, 2015. Based on this information, staff does not support the applicant's request and is recommending denial to allow the primary off-sale of alcoholic beverages at the existing mini mart with gasoline sales. And we did receive a letter in opposition, and that concludes staff's presentation. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you. Have questions from members? Nope. I would point out that I did receive a phone call from Mark Troth, who had also mailed or sent an email raising his objections, which we have on file. Also received a phone call today from Jeff Little, the applicant's representative, expressing his thoughts regarding the project. So it's a matter of disclosure. May I have the speaker is the applicant, or the applicant's representative?
Yes, Jeff Little.
Jeff. Hello, Mr. Little, former planning commissioner.
Chairman Vos, thank you, sir. Vice Chairman Hall, commissioners. This obviously has been a very sticky thing. I've talked about beer and wine, gasoline facilities, since Mr. Hall, if you can remember, since I was in the gasoline and oil business, we've had many markets. I believe that with the property, that looking at this particular site and looking at the property surrounding it, most of that was commercial use all the way around this particular site up to about a year and a half ago. We believe that removing the median on 18th Street there that was proposed, and we have an approved plan to remove the median off there on 18th, will alleviate traffic flow. We actually believe that this particular project would allow freedom on 20th and K there, which has become a nightmare as far as 4 driveways on the corner there of the existing liquor store and the Arco station that alleviate that. So we believe that it will alleviate a concern at that particular location too. I've always had an issue with gasoline, and everyone always says that because a mini market or a convenience store, because one serves gasoline, it should be disputed as far as gasoline sales contributes to some type of problem. Most of them do, as far as have gasoline facilities at these mini markets anymore. The Costco, some of your major chain supermarkets have them. So I don't believe that should be a continuing factor here. As far as mini market and convenience store, we keep talking about the amenities, what we service. Okay, they serve dairy products, they serve sandwiches, hot and cold. They serve bread, cheeses, and things like that can be bought. So that would be considered a convenience store. As far as addressing the crime situation and being involved somewhat on the criminal justice, I look at some of these areas, and I would have to dispute the report that came across this particular one, because if you take a half-mile radius of where this location is, to that point, there's a lot of multifamily residential over by Kaiser. That doesn't affect, this should not affect this particular location. And I think so when you're looking at radius maps, we all have a tendency of looking at that and overextending. The use for, we purchased the property just to the east of it for expansion, eventually for expansion. That is commercial. And like I said before, the stuff right to the south and to the west has always been commercial. And that, what I understand, that particular corner there has been downsized to single our 7,000 square foot lots at that particular, which doesn't make sense to me. So I think if we are requesting a variance because of distance, because of those uses now that have been changed, I do believe that the Chevron USA facility, which is a franchise and which has been there going on 15 years now, is a franchise. And part of this program that is being proposed by the applicant is a condition that Chevron USA has come up with. It's part of their extra mile program, and they're real stringent as far as security, cameras. They have automatic door locks by a push button that have to be used at all times. So it is part of their franchise, and that's what one of the reasons why. So we're asking for a variance and for the commission to look at approving and us moving forward. I'm open to any questions. The applicant's here.
Thank you. There may be some.
Mr. Little, if this was denied by us, would the applicant still be removing the wall on 18th?
Sorry?
If this was denied, the recommendation was upheld by this commission, would the applicant remove the medium on 18th Street still?
Commissioner Hall, I believe the answer is yes. And the reason why is because when that condition was put in on the applicant at the time of construction, it was an item that we felt should not have been there. And it causes a problem now as far as traffic flow. So the answer to your question is yes, sir, it would be.
And you were with us when we revised the alcohol standard ordinances a while back, so you're aware that the city has had some changes in how we view the alcohol sales places. And one of the things you said is that it was a convenience store, and I was wondering if staff could answer, isn't a convenience store has fresh meat and fresh produce, and Mr. Little, does the applicant plan on doing that?
At this overstep, as far as fresh produce, I believe not. As fresh as far as sandwiches and cheese items and dairy products, yes. As far as fresh meat, packaged meat would be the prepackaged meat, the answer would be yes. But as far as butcher shop items, Commissioner, no, I don't believe so.
Could staff clarify the difference for me, please, on mini markets and convenience stores?
Okay. It does not meet the definition of a convenience market within our code. Even if it were to sell fresh produce and fresh meat, it would not meet the definition, because the city's current definitions in the alcohol ordinance basically say that if the use is tied with the sale of petroleum products, gasoline, it is automatically defined as a mini market by code. And as a mini market, it is a primary seller of alcohol. It's by definition.
Wasn't the standard conditions for alcohol keeping convenience markets from selling hard spirits, distilled spirits?
Yes, under the city's revised definitions, a convenience market, something that meets the definition of a convenience market, cannot sell spirits. It cannot sell hard liquor.
So it wouldn't be in your best interest to call it a convenience market?
Except that it can't be that.
Yes.
By definition.
Thank you.
Anything further from anyone? No? Anything further, Mr. Little?
Just a remark on convenience market, convenience store. This is where I think the problem lies at times when it comes to gasoline, because I'm having a tough time sinking my hands around this gasoline issue as far as convenience store mini market. If gasoline is the issue, and it seems to me under this type of ordinance, it shouldn't be. We should not look at this simply because it's a gasoline facility outlet and say, well, because of that, it's classified as a mini market or convenience store under your code.
You may want to take that up with the city council, who in fact adopted these ordinances that we're obliged to consider and uphold, frankly. At any rate, do you have anything further?
No, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you. Anything further from the members? Questions, comments? From staff? No? All right. All right, then it's appropriate to close the public hearing without objection and consider a motion on CUP 15-11.
I move that we adopt resolution number 15-33, denying the conditional use permit of number 15-11.
Second.
Anything further from the members? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0. As always, the applicant does have the right of appeal to the city council of the decision.
Preparing the right application and paying the appropriate fee.
Within the appropriate time.
Within the appropriate time, right? Whatever that is. 30 days, is it?
No, I believe it's 10 working days.
Working day. All right, thank you. All right, the next item is conditional use permit 15-12. So without objection, the public hearing is open on this item, which is a type 41 on-sale beer and wine in a bona fide eating place. So, public hearing's open. Do you have speakers?
No, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Anyone care to hear the staff report on this? No? All right. Very good. Staff have anything they want to add to their report? No? All right, then. It's appropriate to close the public hearing without objection and consider a motion on conditional use permit 15-12.
I'll make a motion that we adopt resolution number 15-34, approving conditional use permit number 15-12.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Thank you. Anything further? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Thank you. And the next item, number 6, is a public hearing on conditional use permit 15-13, which is a type 41 on-sale beer and wine in a bona fide eating place. So without objection, public hearing's open on this item. Do we have speakers?
No, we do not, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Anyone care to hear the staff report again on this item? No? All right, then. Staff, do you have anything to add? No? All right, then. Another boulevard opportunity. So without objection, we'll close the public hearing and consider a motion.
Move to adopt resolution number 15-35, approving conditional use permit number 15-13.
Thank you.
Point of clarification,
Go ahead.
that'd be resolution number 15-13?
Should be.
15-35.
Oh. Resolution 35 approving conditional use permit 15-13.
Thank you.
Right? Okay. Do we have a second, please?
I second.
Thank you. Further discussion? None? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
2 new businesses. That's great. Good luck. You may see some of our smiling faces there soon. Next item, or last action item, is conditional use permit 15-14. So without objection, public hearing is open. This is a conditional use permit for a type 02 wine growers beverage control license. We don't get many of these. So the public hearing's open. You have speakers?
No speakers, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Anyone care to hear the staff report on this? Nope. Staff, do you have anything to add? We did get a uncontested letter on this, I believe, right? Yep. All right, then. So it would be appropriate to close the public hearing without objection and consider a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 15-36, approving conditional use permit number 15-14.
Thank you. Have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you. All right, anything further from members? Please vote.
Motion passes 6-0.
Another new business opportunity in our community. Good luck with it. That concludes our action items. The next item is director's announcements. Mr. Ludicky?
Mr. Chairman, at the risk of putting the city engineer on the spot,
Oh, go ahead.
the city was successful in obtaining two recent grants for active transportation projects within the city, including an exceptionally large award that I think speaks highly for the ability of our capital section to work through the grant process and start meeting some very important needs of our residents. But I'm going to let Michelle Cantrell describe to you what those two projects are, because I think they're worthy of the commission taking note of them.
Thank you.
So the first project that the city was awarded a grant for was some bikeway improvements on 10th Street West from Avenue H to Lancaster Boulevard. And what we'll be able to do with that funding is to install separated bikeways from H to about H8. And what that means is there would be a physical median that would separate the bikes from traffic. So I'm sure you're familiar with 10th Street West in that area. It's a very wide street today, and all that pavement and those traffic lanes are actually not needed, and we can make better use of them by providing more bike facilities for the public, as well as improving pedestrian access and safety. So the other part of the street, H8 South, will consist of restriping the roadway to enable us to install bike lanes.
What's that worth about? What was the grant worth on that?
I don't have that figure with me.
Approximate?
I believe it was close to $2 million, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what we received in terms of grant funding as a part of it.
Yeah.
But
I apologize for not having that
That's all right.
information.
it was
Serious money.
Yes.
Yes, and quite frankly, I think further evidence of the city's commitment towards active transportation projects. I just happened to be down in Los Angeles today talking about how our particular area looks at transportation planning in the future, and it's. I think people are amazed to see a city located where we are thinking so seriously about these types of approaches. But I'll let Michelle go on with the second one, which I think is really an exciting project.
So the second project was not a citywide, but a very significant portion of the city, kind of our urban core. We will be able to install sidewalk improvements where none exist today, completing some significant gaps within our system, as well as, so it's not just installing those sidewalks, it's also installing better access points, such as installing curb extensions to kind of make it safer for pedestrians to cross streets at key locations. It'll include some, perhaps some medians, refuge islands for easier crossing by pedestrians, and there is some opportunities for some bike improvements as well with that grant. And it was a pretty significant amount. I believe it was over $3 million that we were awarded, and I think it was one of the highest awards of any of the jurisdictions that were awarded money through this Active Transportation Program grant. So that was exciting news.
One thing that I don't know that our citizens who are not transit dependent or dependent on walking realize is that we have a significant number of elderly who use the bus system and in some cases are exiting at stops where there are improvements installed, but then the directions that they need to go don't have them. And it isn't unusual, unfortunately, to see seniors in some cases walking or wheeling in bike lanes or in the paved area of streets. Very dangerous situation. And closing these gaps is going to make a significant difference in the quality of life for a lot of our residents in the city's core.
So when you define the core, I mean, it's what?
As I recall, it was about a 13.5 square mile area. I think it's basically H to L from, I can't remember if it's 40th to 40th.
I think it was 20th
20th.
to 40th.
Wow.
So
It is significant.
yes, this was actually a grant that the reviewing group came out to look at what was going on. I think because they couldn't understand whether we really needed this or not. So I guess when they got here, they decided we did. So
Obviously. Oh, it's terrific. A lot of hard work and effort on your part, I'm sure, Ms. Cantrell.
There were many staff members involved, and our capital group was key in putting, and some from our traffic section as well, were key in putting the grant application. It was definitely a team effort.
Congratulations.
That's right. And there are employment opportunities, I hear, in the various development services departments available.
Yes, we have a position, engineer, assistant, and/or associate engineer position open, hopefully to fill in our traffic engineering group.
Right.
I believe there was a planning position that was just advertised as well, assistant planner.
Assistant planner position as well.
yes, the good news is it's being advertised. The bad news is it happens to be Elma Watson's position because she has announced her retirement at the end of the year. And as you know, she's been the city's spearhead on both the Safe Routes to School planning effort and previously our master plan of trails and bikeways. So congratulations to her and her husband. They're ready to go off on well-deserved retirement, but we're going to miss her.
Definitely well-deserved, but a gap, that's for sure. That's will be a challenge to fill. Hopefully you'll get some good applicants. For the public's information, we have no input whatsoever on who gets hired here. We do get the benefit of their expertise, however, which is greatly appreciated. Anything further, Mr. Ludicky?
We are hopeful that at your next meeting, probably your special meeting, we want to give a rundown to you on some of the policy thinking that is. We've talked a lot about some different things, even this evening as we talked about street design. I think we want to be able to give you a little bit of a better overview as to how that's all tying into what we're looking at doing. Some of the things you will see coming up in 2016. And one thing I did want to identify, after many months of waiting, we finally did get the final contract approved with Southern California Association of Governments, and we have begun the Complete Streets master plan effort, and you as a commission will be seeing that in various stages during 2016. Another project that I think is very important long-term for the city's well-being.
Very good. Thank you. I think it was last meeting, or maybe the meeting before. I guess it was last meeting. We had a project before us adjacent to 62578 that was up before us tonight on the south side of that particular project. Actually, I made statements relative to what the commission's actions were back in 2009. However, I was incorrect. The commission considered when we were considering the general plan hearings, part of that particular track was originally all residential, and the applicant's representative at the time, the applicant or the ownership or group was called Infinity 26, who was affiliated with Mr. Sayani. Jim Gilley represented the owner at that hearing back in May of 2009 and had requested that 10 acres of that 22 acres be changed in the general plan from residential to commercial use. Commission discussed it and then voted on a split vote, 4-3 actually. Actually, the only member that was there at the time was me. I voted in the minority opposing the action. 4 members voted in favor and 3 opposed. The item did eventually go on to the City Council as part of the general plan revision, and the City Council in effect upheld the recommendation for 10 acres of commercial out of that 22 acres. So I was incorrect last time. However, the outcome is the same. The property is zoned in general plan for 10 acres of commercial roughly, and that's how the general plan currently reads. So now comes time for any other commission agenda item. Anything you want to bring up? Go ahead.
I was walking at Lancaster City Park on Sunday, and the long chain link fence that separates the park from the freeway, it went through my mind that that could be a really good opportunity to write a grant to the state to put up a sound wall, because not only did we have the cars that were making lots of noise, we also were smelling hot catalytic converters and an occasional older car that would go by, and it would be kind of nice if we could have that wall to push it up into the trees so it would go over our events that we have there. That's just a suggestion.
So some of your potential customers with those goofy catalytic converters, right?
You get to understand and smell it if you're around it long enough, and some people aren't aware. We could be like Fabian and have the older stuff that doesn't need it.
Careful how you speak about old, okay? Go ahead, Mr. Ludicky.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and my apologies, I forgot. The map site that you just described in that map is actually, the denial was appealed and will be taken up by the City Council on their meeting of December 8th.
Right.
So I apologize, and we will make an attempt to contact Mr. Quellman, who was here this evening and made a comment relative to that, so that he's aware that that appeal is going to be heard.
Okay, very good. Okay, so public business from the floor. Now's the time for the public to address us on any item they wish to discuss. However, the commission cannot take an action on anything you bring before us. However, we may want to agendize it in the future. public's invited to speak on any subject that they wish regarding city business. You're limited to 3 minutes, and you're welcome to talk to us, but we'd like to have you fill out a speaker's card so we know who you are. So do we have any public speakers from the floor? We have 8 or 9 people here that,
Not at this point, Mr. Chairman.
all right. Anyone wish to speak to us tonight? No? All right then. So we will stand adjourned in memory of all of those folks who lost their life in Paris this last week, and those folks who were injured and all their family members that Vice Chair Hall offered an invocation for this evening. I cannot imagine the tragedy that are affecting those families, friends. It's just unconscionable. I'm afraid we'll see more of it. So we're adjourned to our special meeting for agenda review on Monday, December 7th, 2015 at 5:30 p.m. here in the Parks, Recreation, and Arts Conference Room at City Hall. Thank you all for your participation.